Thank you very much. I want to specifically the leaders of the Nigerian Medical of the meeting at the larger forum in Bayelsa, but that was cancelled due to the flooding that took over Nigeria recently. I want to specifically acknowledge two of my best friends in the house with whom we have had very, very serious working relationship in fighting for an interest of doctors, democracy, and the struggle for development in this country. And I would like to acknowledge Dr. Omoyele, who is in the house with us here today. We fought so many of the governors in this country who seem to have a problem with doctors, from Lagos to Anambra State in the early 2000s till mid 2000s. We also fought for democracy with one of the persons in the house, and that is Dr. Omoyele. He later became the president of the NMA. I spent 6 years at the University of Lagos because I was expelled twice. If I knew that I would spend 6 years in the university, I would have applied for medicine. There was no point wasting those years, and I would have been a damn good doctor. I also would like to acknowledge Nigerian Medical Association, persons in the house, doctors, professionals. I want to acknowledge the Medical Women Association of Nigeria, those of National Association of Resident Doctors. And I want to say something about NAD. That when I was arrested in 2019 by the DSS, they listed all the militant groups in Nigeria, and National Association of Resident Doctors were listed as one of them. Said that the militant wing of doctors in Nigeria. I want to acknowledge National Association of Doctors in University Health Services. I want to acknowledge those who make it possible for you to become doctors, those in the university who are lecturers teaching real medicine to people who are now called doctors. I also want to acknowledge Medical and Dental Specialists Association of Nigeria and the Association of Nigerian Private Medical Practitioners. I want to acknowledge all of you. When I was working in here, I asked one of my colleagues why there are very few doctors in the house. He gave me two reasons. He said this is just the National Executive Committee of NMA, so just representative. And secondly, that most of the doctors have left Nigeria. These are the only people left. So please clap for yourself. I have been asked to come here alongside other presidential candidates. There are 18 of us, and I heard that one of them has capitulated and stepped down for someone else. So there are about 17 left. And out of the 17, you are always told that there are frontliners. This is what the media made of in Nigeria, which is unfair to the electoral and democratic process in Nigeria. But what is interesting today, as I look at this space here, is that those who really need medical attention are not here with you. One of them had to be rushed out of one of his campaigns yesterday. The other one, I won't mention his name, is always followed by two doctors anywhere he goes. Because if he carries one leg frontwards, he has to rest before taking the second leg. I would have thought that these candidates will make it a priority to meet with Nigerian doctors wherever you go. Because most likely they need your services more than I do. I'm not saying that just than the rest of them, as we have seen over the years. So I'm happy that I have the opportunity to talk to you about the situation of Nigeria. I don't think there's anything any presidential candidate can tell you about Nigeria that you don't know about. Because when the rest of Nigeria are out there, not knowing who is safe, healthy, or sick, doctors know them, all of them. I remember a Sahara Reporters publisher, this country had a medical emergency. And I will tell you what it is. The president of the country was sick, and that is President Umaru Yar'Adua. And nobody knew what was wrong with him in Nigeria. I also tried to find out in the US and all over the world what they thought was his problem. Nobody could tell me. But I was shocked that a doctor in Katsina had treated Yar'Adua when his ailment started. It is Yar'Adua's ascension to power, in my view, that gave courage to some of the sick candidates today to feel like they can govern Nigeria.
Yes.
But our position is that anybody can be sick, but our country is too sick to be governed by sick people. If you are sick, you need to meet with the NMA. Let them find you a place for treatment, and don't try and contest to try and make Nigeria sicker than it is. But what I wanted to say about Yar'Adua was that when I got the information about the ailment, what was ailing him, even I could not pronounce that disease. But it came from a Nigerian doctor who knew it before other doctors elsewhere, including in Saudi Arabia, knew what was wrong with him. He had gone to Germany, and in Germany they could not determine what was wrong with him. Some people said it was cancer, some other person said he has kidney or liver disease, but it turns out that it was just a symptom of the ailment, what was ailing him at that time. And like I said, Yar'Adua governed this country brain dead for 5 months before he was finally declared dead physically. So you should not be surprised that some of these candidates are confident, not exposing or telling Nigerians what is wrong with them, because they know that Nigeria can be governed by a dead person and Nigerians will not bother. And I think we are heading there now if we are not careful. This is a serious issue for me, and I feel confident and safe to speak about it to you, because we cannot divorce Nigeria's situation from the kind of leaders that Nigeria has had since 1960. We cannot divulge the fact that not only do Nigerian leaders have physical illnesses that they refuse to disclose to Nigerians, a lot of them also have mental problems that they don't disclose to Nigeria because Nigerians don't like to treat mental problems. I remember when I left Nigeria to go to the US, I met a doctor because I suffered so much at the University of Lagos. I was injected with an unknown chemical substance, and I was more interested in finding out what the chemical substance I was injected with could have been, or if it was HIV, lead, or mercury, whatever it was. But they said to me, the first thing we'll do to you is subject you to mental evaluation and treatment if necessary. I didn't like the idea. The first question I asked myself is, if people ask me what am I doing in the hospital, I tell them I have mental evaluation. They think I'm mad and crazy. But it turned out that the root of so many of the illnesses that we face come from stress, post-traumatic stress disorders. And if you don't handle all of this together, you just can't claim to be well. So wellness is also rooted in mental treatment. And I want to thank whomever is in the house who is a mental treatment doctor. You are doing fantastic in this country today. And I know a lot of you have clients, you have patients, who are in government. Don't disclose them. We know them. Now going to our main problems, particularly affecting the medical industry as I understand them. I don't want to pretend that I know everything. The biggest problem confronting Nigeria today is brain drain of the medical professionals in the country. Like I said lightly earlier, there is nobody left in the country. And we must continue to appreciate those of you who are still staying back. We must also continue to appreciate those of you who are only waiting for your paperwork to be concluded. We know more of you are heading out. but we pray that you will not all leave and leave us alone here. But let's ask ourselves, how much do we pay our doctors? I was just having a conversation with my friend, and we're doing a little calculation while I was sitting there. I was like, what is the average salary of a medical doctor in Nigeria? Average salary. And he directed me to something they call CONMES, right? And what came to my mind when I saw CONMES is that this particular salary scale is in a mess. Why? An average doctor in Nigeria, on that scale, the first scale, if you are not a consultant, you are actually earning less than 200,000 naira per month. What can you do with 200,000 naira per month in Nigeria? This is about $200. $200 for a medical doctor in a month is like trying to assassinate a doctor. There is no point going to the university and spending 6 years. If you add ASU strike to it, or strikes, you probably spend 10 years just to study medicine in a Nigerian university. And you do your residency and you go through all the professional development courses, and at the end, you are paid peanuts. There is no way a Nigerian doctor can survive on less than ₦1 million per month, in my view. That should be the minimum wage of a doctor. If a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, can be receiving 14 million naira per month, a doctor should not receive less than a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because why? Doctors don't sleep. Sometimes you don't even have real holidays. You are recalled back. Doctors and criminals are the only people who carry a pager on themselves. They put the pager on the ankle of a criminal, they put that of a doctor on his waist. But they are both, pagers, right? They are both movement detectors. You can be sleeping, when it goes off, you must wake up and attend to your duties. It's the same thing with criminals. If you walk past the perimeter expected of you, it will go off. So, doctors don't sleep. But our senators barely work up to 3 months in a year. In fact, the senator of Nigeria should be given minimum wage so that they will appreciate what it means to work round the clock in a year. So, our proposal for that matter is that doctors' CONMES should not be a mess. And it should be such that it has value for the activities and the efforts of doctors in our lives. Because why? If a senator is sick, it's a doctor that will be called upon. If the president of the country is sick today and they are not lucky enough to be able to fly him over to London, a doctor has to be called to attend to him. So why should the president earn more than a doctor? It's a question we should be asking ourselves. And I'm pushing this to those of you who are in the militant wing of the medical profession in Nigeria. But as a candidate who is going to become the president of Nigeria by 2023, you are guaranteed. For us, our minimum wage starts from 250,000 naira. But that is not for doctors. That is for those who might be sweeping our streets. Those of doctors will not start less than $1 million. When I say $1 million, I am not even being fair to you. I'm not doing you a favor. I just want to make sure that all of you don't leave on the day of my swearing in. Yes, I need something to hold you down until we get it right, and we can have serious negotiation about what to pay you. And I get asked this question, and they come from those we want to help. Anytime you propose real life, enjoyment, or a better future for Nigeria, the question you are asked and confronted with, where will you get the money from? But a House of Rep member a few days ago told us that the transactions you carry out in the banks in the country, 128 million account holders, has now risen to become 89 trillion naira. But this 89 trillion naira is just being shared between the central bank governor and some private so-called investors and bank MDs. That money has disappeared completely. That 89 trillion naira amounts to $200 billion when you make the exchange rate even at the lowest exchange rate, which is 445 naira to $1. If we have that, why should people be paid slave wages as doctors in our country? I know of nurses who left Nigeria the last 4 or 5 years who are earning more than almost a whole row of doctors standing or sitting in front of me in a month. And they are here in America, they are there in the UK. Doctors in the Caribbean countries are doing better than Nigerian doctors in places like Jamaica and all those Caribbean islands. Who did we offend is the question we should be asking ourselves. And not one of you, and I plead with you, should pretend that you are not interested in politics. I hear that all the time. Doctors are not interested in politics. Physicians are not interested in politics. Pharmacists are not interested in politics. This is how you got ourselves into this mess that we are in, that we are governed practically by idiots in this country for the longest period that I have known. I am not saying that as a doctor you should select a candidate who is a doctor. You can vote for me because I think like a doctor. You can vote for me because I think diagnosis, prognosis, and treatments for the country. And when I become president, the treatments will go round. As they say, everybody that's made life miserable for you as doctors will get their own breakfast too. That's the truth. And until we do that, we are not ready for the future. The other issues that I have come to understand about our medical problems in Nigeria is that we don't have facilities enough. I was told by a friend of mine a few days ago that there's only one cancer treatment machine for radiology, right? Radiotherapy, yes. In Abuja for the entire northern part of the country. So everybody who has got long-term managed care requirements has to come to Abuja. And they don't necessarily get treated on the day of the appointment because there are too many people and the machines are frequently breaking down. The reason is that your leaders don't care about medical facilities for the country because they can always get out to go and treat even Qatar, as we call it. They can go and treat common cold by getting on a plane. And sometimes it's not even the regular presidential jet they get into. They get into air ambulances that are escorted by the presidential jets. And you can imagine the cost of air ambulances at about $12,000 per hour, going in the air for 6 hours between here and London. That is if the president is going to London. Sometimes they get to London, the doctors are not available, they fly to Germany, if not available, they fly anywhere because they are not spending their own money. We also have issues of emergency services in the country. Nigeria is the only place I have been in, about 30 countries I have been around the world in the last 20 years, where if you are in danger, you don't have a number to call that somebody will answer you and say, please, I need help. And you get a doctor or a set of doctors or paramedics to get to you in your house or wherever you might find yourself. I have had a slight accident before and I called, this was in the US, on the highway. My tire just busted and I veered off the highway. You know, I was, for a second, not feeling good. I called the 911 and they said, would you want paramedics driving to you or do you need a helicopter coming to you? Of course, I wanted to opt for the helicopter because I wanted to enjoy myself going to the hospital. Yes. And I looked at it and said, I'm not even a US citizen. They want to airlift me for a treatment that I don't even know if I need or not. Where in this country could you get that? My younger brother was shot on the way to Benin City. When he was shot, he was still in order. He held onto his chest and drove for another 15 minutes before he died. Some 2 years, about a year ago. I was wondering, and this kept disturbing me, that had he known, or if he lived in a country where there was availability of emergency care, he probably would have picked up his phone, stopped, and called for help. He probably would have been saved. I don't know. Because when we were leaving the university, we were told that our hospitals have become mortuaries. But today, our hospitals cannot qualify to be called mortuaries because the mortuaries, where I know them, work very well. They have electricity and there's a cooling system there. If you go to a mortuary now, you die and you are put in a mortuary, it's double jeopardy. Because you have died a hot death and your dead body can also not be cooled or refrigerated as is required. So our hospitals are not qualified, I mean it seriously, to be called mortuaries. That is why when people die these days, they don't even take their bodies to our mortuaries anymore. They take them to private individuals who experiment with their bodies. Nigerians used to go to herbalists, people they call Babalawo, when they are sick. Now, they take dead bodies to herbalists for preservation. And the herbalists do whatever they want with it. When my father died and I came from the US, and they took him out of a herbalist mortuary, my brother said, let's go and check his body. They might have removed some things there. And I said, whatever they can remove, let them remove it. It is not their fault, it's the fault of the country, where you can't preserve even the body of the dead for just a short period of time. Well, it is important, because I know I don't have all the time in this world, that all of you start interrogating the people who want to preside over Nigeria in 2023. My first foray into national politics was in 1993, when we fought for Bashorem Abiola to be president of Nigeria. If anybody told me or told Fadu Ile when we were fighting in those days that Nigeria would be in such a mess in 2023, I will deny it. If anybody told me that doctors will be leaving Nigeria in 2023 in search of greener pastures in countries that Nigeria was paying doctors' salaries in the 70s, I will say this will not happen. But it's happening before your very eyes. Our leaders have ruined our country, and there's no reason to be apologetic about it. You see it on a daily basis. I don't think anybody sees the rot going on in this country more than medical doctors, because you have to deal with not only sick people, you have to deal with really sick people. But the hardest part, in my view, that you doctors have to deal with is your inability to help people who are sick to be nurtured back into health. I think that is where your trauma will come from, or you must be faced to have people that you know you can save, but you cannot help them because there are no facilities, there are not even gloves sometimes to work on them. That must be where it is really hard for you as doctors. But it doesn't have to be this hard, and we don't have to continue like this. We must take a stand. When I mean a stand, a real stand. Like I was saying earlier, other candidates that should be here are not here, not because they are sick alone, but they all have medical baggages. Not that they are sick, but because most of them, when they were governors in their states, have maltreated doctors. There were some of them that allowed doctors strike for months on end, one for 13 months. And they are now going to face you. You know how difficult it is for them to come here. In Lagos, with Dr. Nabulele, we fought Raji Fashola for months over his treatments of doctors. And they will all sit around, form political parties, organize campaigns, and tell you that they want to help Nigeria. They want to make Nigeria work. When they had the chance at smaller levels to make Nigeria work, they destroyed Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I would have advised that since none of them showed up today, they should send a memo to all the doctors not to vote for anybody who didn't come before you today. Part of the reasons I attend this professional event is because for so long we have rejected and downplayed the role of our professionals in our lives. And I've looked at it and thought, well, since I don't have money to organize fake rallies where I talk to myself alone, echo chambers, I will come to people who not only will listen to me, but who can also teach me something that I don't know about Nigeria. And I found it to be very enlightening, eye-opening, and decent talking to professionals. I've been in front of accountants in Nigeria, I've been in front of pharmacists, architects, and I'm lucky today to be in front of doctors. I'm very, very lucky, and I appreciate it. And as a result, I hope that if you have questions, you have suggestions on how to govern this country better, on the medical side of things, you will feel free to ask these questions today from me. And I will be happy to also ask you questions if I have questions, even though I have a lot of doctors in the house who give me advice. But you know, if you are following a militant who is a doctor, you are following two sides of the same track. Having said that, I also want us to look into how technology can play a role in medical delivery in Nigeria. And on this note, I am looking beyond you. Those doctors I have left, is there a way we can get them to help us pass telemedicine as their own contribution to the treatment of persons? As I'm standing in front of you, I will disclose my regular ailment. I get food poisoning a lot. And one day, I had food poisoning. And I went to a medical doctor in the middle of night in Lagos. Instead of inducing vomit or vomiting, he just gave me painkiller. So I called my doctor in the US. He said, what were you giving? I passed the phone over to the doctor. He said, well, we've been injecting him with painkiller. He said, you're about to kill my patient. Yeah. All you should have done is to induce vomiting. And he'll be fine in 30 minutes. If he doesn't get better, give him antibiotics. And the doctor told me, because he's a Nigerian doctor, that this was how Idiagmo was killed. When he visited Obasanjo, he ate some food that got him food poisoned. And when he was to be treated, they brought a doctor that was just injected. So if you inject right side of the bottle, the next day you should inject the other right. If you can't find any space, you look for the lab. If you can't find another place, you inject every part of everybody's garden veins. If you can't find veins, you put two nurses to be looking for veins. Just slap the other side. And this guy was injected to the point of death. The reason probably why I'm sitting in front of you today was because I had that opportunity of a second opinion from another doctor from outside the country. And he's a Nigerian doctor, by the way. And I'm telling you, the only place doctors from Nigeria don't do well is Nigeria. Because after COVID, some of the highest sought medical doctors in the world are Nigerian doctors. Everybody wants a Nigerian doctor. And these are the same doctors. During structural adjustment program, they ask them not to invest in free education. But the little education you got from here is what is saving Europe, United Kingdom, and America today with doctors. And you must be proud of yourselves for this. I have no doubt that if we create an economic base and a secure society, nobody will be sending sick people to India, where we are spending over $2 billion on medical tourism. People are even going to Ghana for medical treatments, whereas there are Nigerian doctors. And the kind of economy we would create under our African National Congress Party is an economy in which everybody has a stake. The Nigerian economy as it is now is a buccaneer economy. What do I mean? Only a few people have access to what belongs to everybody. 16 trillion naira is what about 100 so-called investors, private sector investors get from waivers alone. 16 trillion. That is almost bigger than the budget of Nigeria. And we are wondering why there is insecurity everywhere. I know of doctors who are so poorly paid, they have to combine other job, a second job, to their medical profession. I know of doctors who left the medical profession to go and work in a bank because it's more profitable to be a banker than to be a doctor. That is Nigeria for you. And I will speak on one last thing, security, because everybody is worried about the situation of Nigeria in terms of security. I am sure that part of the reason why probably all the doctors who are supposed to be here are not here today is because of security, because if you can't fly, definitely nobody wants to travel by road to go to a conference in Asaba. I am not in any way insinuating that Asaba is dangerous, but there's no part of Nigeria that is not dangerous at this time. But this kind of security we want to work on is not just physical security. It's to work on an economic system that guarantees jobs to people, that guarantees professional development to people, that gives you wages that is not peonage or slavery. It's to work on an economy that guarantees education, proper education for people. It's to work on an economy that rewards people who work hard and ensure those who don't work hard are not paid more than those who work hard. 5 Nigerians, as we speak today, have more money than the rest of us, about 199 million, 0.9, whatever the fractions are. 5 of them. And most likely, these 5 Nigerians are the ones who don't have to do anything. There are 4 refineries in Nigeria. Nigeria said it cannot repair 4 refineries. But Nigeria contributed $2.5 billion to help one man finish his refinery in Lagos. Why can't you spend that money on repairing your refinery? Because they will lie to you that they are running a private sector driven economy. There's no private sector anywhere. Everybody is a government contractor in Nigeria. After you give them Nigeria's resources, you still have to grant them waivers, give them loans, and give them all kinds of support. And then they look like they're hardworking. I have said it and I'll say it openly anywhere. If a goat got the kind of support that Dangote gets from the Nigerian government, the goat will be a billionaire. That's the truth. They don't do anything. It's just access and connections with power. That's what they call private sector. The bankers are not banking anything. They are just doing flipping dollars. That's what they call private sector. But they are the richest in the country, whereas people like you, doctors, who work hard, bust your behind on a daily basis to keep the country well, fit, and manageable to live in, you get paid peanuts. That is the reason why I did not want to go into the issue of all the salary scales in the corn mess, the mess in the corn that they use in paying salaries to doctors, because the highest I found there was about 5 million naira. A lot of us, even without a job, cannot survive on 5 million naira in a year. We are not talking about 5 million naira in a month, 5 million in a year. That is a crime against the medical profession. And every other wage that is paid in this country to our people is also a crime against humanity. We must create a Nigeria that works for all. And the young man standing in front of you today, my name is Omoyele Sowore. I've been fighting for a better Nigeria since I was 19 years old. I am 51 years old today. As of today, I'm 51 years plus. Never look back. And I cannot in any way accept to be compared with people who live off of Nigeria doing nothing for Nigeria. Thank you so much for bringing me.
Please a resounding round of applause for him. Thank you so much.
You may have some water. Have something.
The basic. How are we able to resolve in terms and how you are going to do it, not with data, but in terms of practicality? 1, insecurity in the country. 2, issue of inflation, budgetary deficit, unemployment, infrastructural decay, oil subsidy, and the last one, how will you resolve a sector problem in Nigeria?
I think with the permission of the president, we would like to take all the questions together and then he can answer. Okay, please talk. The guy in the black suit. Please keep it short and simple so that we can.
My name is Saeed Ahmad. I'm NMA National Committee Chairman on Biomedicals, and I'm from Lagos. I have a question. The comment I have with the indulgence of the President is extremely important.
Please, you're from
NMA. Mr. Sowore, sir, thank you very much for an excellent delivery. The short comment I have is...
Comment, no question.
Mr. President, sir.
One question.
Question, just give a question, please. Colleagues, please, I think we can understand. The presidential candidate would like to take questions. Please leave out your comments. Just ask the question. He has the right to make comments. Just ask your question, please. Just ask a question so that we can move on, please.
Mr. President, sir, with all due respect, it's a national discourse. I will step down my contribution if I cannot comment. Thank you.
Please give the microphone to the next.
Thank you, Mr. President, and our guest. My name is Dr. Usman Abba, and I'm from Yobe NMA. I want to ask a question on security. Mr. Presidential Candidate, sir, in your own belief and opinion, do you think when you are elected as the president, will you consider giving amnesty to the various militant groups across the country, or you think you should arrest and try them? If you think they should be arrested and tried, why? If you think they should be given amnesty, why? Thank you very much.
Okay, that is the second question. Dr. Okwe. Okwe.
From NMA, please.
Mr. President and the House, my name is Dr. Ukwe, National Chairman, Investment and Project. Now my question is this: if elected as the President of this country, would you want to remove subsidy on petrol? And if you do, how do you intend to fund the private sector to drive the economy of this country? Thank you very much.
The man on this side, on white there, we haven't taken this one. Yeah.
There's no woman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and the House. My name is Samuel Okemide. I'm President of ALD Lut. I just want to ask Mr. Sowore, excellent delivery today. Would you be willing to partner with other political parties so that you can probably take power from this current government? Thank you very much.
Dr. Ibekwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. My name is Dr. Titus Ibekwe, Professor of ENT and the Chairman of the Research Committee. I want you to tell us practically how you're going to reverse the brain drain in the health sector, which you reiterated from your opening remarks. How are you going to turn it around into brain gain for Nigerians?
Tiger.
My name is Dr. Suraj Oguyemi, the Chairman of National Committee on Emerging and Emerging Diseases. and I want to be on the side of the neglected groups. Our presidential candidate, what is going to be your position on the issue of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender when you become the president? Thank you.
I would have loved for there to be a question from a female doctor in the house. So if there's any one of you who would like to ask me a question, I'll take that. I take very serious approach to how we keep integrating and promoting our women in our life and culture. I have realized that medically, women are living longer in Nigeria, so we better respect them. I asked 20 of my friends recently where their fathers are. They're all dead. Their mom is still alive. So we better just make the world better place for them.
Oh my God.
Dr. Titus Ibekwe, he said you deal with an ENT, and you are asking me about brain drain, how we can turn it to brain gain. And I'll say that first and foremost, where were you when our president was having hair problems? I had to go to the UK for it. So I just put some cutting board in his ears and remove whatever is blocking it. With regards to brain drain, I don't think it's something you can reverse physically. This is going to be an issue we will resolve with technology. And when I say technology, is to find a way, and I mentioned telemedicine earlier, by which immediately Nigerian doctors who have left can be brought back, telemedically to help people at home. And I've seen this work very much. That's immediate. Long term is remuneration. There's no doctor who left Nigeria now is receiving maybe $5,000 a month, who is going to come back to 154,000 minimum wage for doctors. Even if you are cost, your family will not allow you to return to the family compound. If you just return overnight and say you want to come and help Nigeria. But there are so many ways we can do so, and I think technology, which emerged even during the COVID pandemic, showed to people that you can be a doctor 10,000 miles away and still treat people very well. Because there was a time that the US, all the hospital beds were filled up and doctors were treating people over the telephone. In fact, it will surprise you that some of the solutions to the treatment of COVID came from Nigerians. Not outside the country, but in Nigeria. There was a guy who detected that medicine, I forgot the name, who discovered that it was working. And it turns out that it was one of the earlier solutions to the problem, when big pharmaceutical companies were making a big deal and making lots of money and taking advantage of people. So that would be it, but the most important thing is to have an environment where doctors thrive. Not only payment of good salaries and wages, you have serious allowances that they are supposed to get. One of them is called hazard allowance that you never get paid. And to provide doctors with special housing programs. When India wanted to bring back their doctors that had left over the years, they built them cities meant for them to reintegrate back to the Indian society. They put them in gated communities and got their children to come back. It is doctors and their children that made India to become, not doctors, but the professionals that made India to become very, very prosperous today. So it's not going to happen overnight, I won't lie to you. But we will deploy technology first and foremost, and then gradually start bringing back people. And I can tell you, and I'll say this here, there are a lot of Nigerian doctors out there who are also tired of staying outside. But they can't come in when they cannot be guaranteed of their safety between the airport and even the hotel they are going to stay in. My father-in-law retired as a doctor in the US. He was one of the highest professionals at Harlem Hospital in New York. When he came back, when he was retired, he said he could still give 10 years of free time to the medical industry in Nigeria. Went and met the governor of the state. They were not interested. They were not interested in healthcare because they don't go to your hospital. Why would they care about doctors who are volunteering? So there are plenty of them who also want to come back. But this country must be made safe, you know, and habitable for any professional for that matter. That's on brain drain. On the issue of lesbians, gays, and all the multiple letters that you have mentioned, Nigeria's problem is not who is sleeping with who in their bedroom at this time, in my view.
Thank you.
In fact, it is the stupidity of our leaders to be making laws about things that don't affect them that make the issue of lesbian gays to become very popular. And I'll say something to you here, I'm not afraid to say it. Most of the people who even made that law, they themselves are gays in this country. A lot of our leaders are homosexuals. I'm not making fun of them. It's their right, as long as it is not something that affects society. Our problems are so serious. Dabbling into who is sleeping with who should not be something that we're wasting our time on at this time. And since they made their gay laws, who have they been able to jail? The most popular person in this country among youth is a cross-dresser, Bobrisky. They even invite him to come to their houses, to invite him to their parties. The same people who said they don't want gays are promoting the culture. But the thing is that everybody have a right to sleep with whoever they want to sleep with, as long as there's permission granted on both sides. I don't want to waste my time on who is sleeping with who. I want to waste my time on how people can go to sleep in peace. And there was the question about partnership with other political parties. If you are reading newspapers, watching TV, and you're on the internet a lot, you would have heard that one of the greatest political alliances happened about 3 days ago. We entered into an alliance with Nigeria's oldest political party that's very radical. A party that was established by Aminu Kano, known as the PRP, the People Redemption Party. We are the only political party in this election that's entered into such a large alliance that has North versus South implication. And I don't know what else we can do. What I'll tell you is that I cannot get into an alliance with the PDP, and I'm sorry for those of you who are in the PDP or the APC. I cannot do that in good conscience. But we are ready to align with any other person. And the greatest alliance we need in this country is the alliance of the oppressed. That's what we need. I don't want to be a person who's PDP this night, and by the time I wake up tomorrow I become APC. That is not alliance. That is chameleonic appearance. The issue of removal of subsidy. The truth is that I am not saying it because it's what I want to say or what I like you to hear. The people that are being subsidized are the so-called private sector criminals who have contacts in government. Nobody is subsidizing anything in the oil sector. Do you know why there's no subsidy? In this country, 450,000 barrels of oil is reserved for local refining every day. They still take it out on a daily basis. It's meant to be refined to cushion the effect of our inability to repair our refineries. What I will do is to immediately fix our refineries. If we fix our refineries, there's no way we will not be selling, we will not have surplus to sell even to the West African region and by extension the world. If you go to the US, there is a gas station known as a Lukoil petrol station. It's owned by Russia. That's why they sell their Essex crude. Because the moment a barrel of crude is distilled, you get over 6,000 products from just distillation of one crude, including the Vaseline we use this morning, your shoe sole, you know, your tie, the tie and dye that's used in your shirt. They all come from petroleum products. How then do you claim that you are subsidizing something when you take out crude of how many barrels and you only bring back petrol? Where is the 5,999 of the products left? It's a lie. And if you want to know that this whole cost subsidy thing is a scam, are we subsidizing petrol? Is it available? Kerosene, is it available? Are they subsidizing Jet A1 fuel? Are you not still delayed at the airport when they say there's other? And their argument is that if we remove subsidy, the products will be available in large quantity. The ones that we are not subsidizing why are they not available? And why is it that the profit we are making from the ones that are unsubsidized, like diesel, why is it not showing in our daily lives? So we are only subsidizing petrol because it's their last point of fraud in the country. And I tell you, regimes after regimes in this country have been fraudulent and defrauding the Nigerian people, and I can say it anywhere. It's not because I'm saying it for politics, it's because as a reporter, investigative reporter, I was the one in 2012 who exposed most of the subsidy scammers in this country. We found out in one situation that a ship that had sunk 10 years before was bringing fuel to Nigeria. That has to be a miracle. For a ship that had been under the sea for 10 years before 2012 was registered to be bringing petrol into Nigeria on a daily basis. So that is what they do, and that's what they continue to do. Inflation. What we must ask is, what is driving inflation? There are a number of reasons why inflation happens in society, and one of it is wage pool inflation. When they pay workers very well, they claim it causes inflation. But why is there inflation when you are not paying workers very well in Nigeria? It is because we are not producing most of the goods and services we consume. And also because we don't have the kind of infrastructure that can make life easy. So if you want to bring tomato from wherever it is grown in the north to the south, it doesn't get there in 3 days. By the time it gets to Lagos, the train is spoiled. We don't have the kind of infrastructure that can move our economy around. And there's also a problem of insecurity. But who are the causes of this insecurity we are talking about? Government. Any kind of insecurity that you are seeing in Nigeria today is the kind of insecurity that has become profitable. And the moment people start making money from insecurity, the insecurity can never end. So without replacing this personnel that is causing insecurity, you are wasting your time. We're talking about health as well. Our brother from Lagos who was asking the question. Health care delivery is not something you do with charity. It is something that is compulsory investment. Ask yourself, what percentage of our budget is spent on the healthcare industry, sector? It is infinitesimal. And until we address that, until we address investment in health, education, and holistic investment that can improve human security and betterment, you are wasting your time. And we have said as a party, because before you say that I'm only telling you about the problems, that we make this investment. In fact, we are the first political party that put on a website, and it's on my website, Sowore2023.org, how we intend to address all these issues. We put them there, all the issues. And we did not plagiarize our manifesto. It was written by me and other members of the platform. You know, the other candidates don't even know what is in their manifesto. Because they went and plagiarized it they took some from Malaysia, South Africa, joined it together, and they presented it and they claim it's the manifesto. And when you ask their candidates to present it, they fall sick. Dr. Usman Abba, you talked about amnesty, and I'll address it this way. First, look at the various security problems in Nigeria before you understand how to solve them. In the northeast, you are dealing with terrorism. In the northwest, you are dealing with banditry. In the southeast, you are dealing with agitation for nationhood. It's different from terrorism. If you go to the southwest now, they are also asking for their own nation. It's different from banditry. And then there's general crime. But what I will say is this: any kind of insecurity, crime, terrorism that has lasted for 10 years, you have to have different attitude to resolving them. And one of it is amnesty. If you cannot defeat them, you can talk to them. And when I was a journalist, I used to talk to all the militants in the Niger Delta region. Most of their leaders. And I knew when they were tired and wanted to get away. We were lucky that when they got tired and they were tired of fighting, the government gave them amnesty. That's what at least reduced the issue of the Niger Delta militancy. As a reporter, I also used to talk to Boko Haram leaders when they first started. Their agenda wasn't to be like this. It was the Nigerian government that messed it up by killing their leaders. Same thing they did with the Yoruba Nation leaders. They thought by driving Sunday Igboho to Benin Republic, the problem is over. The problem has only gone under. It will still resurge. Because as long as people cannot find meaning in the country called Nigeria, they will try to find meaning in their own section of Nigeria. That's the truth. So you cannot use guns to solve all the security problems. Yes, we can buy guns, we can bring in drones, you can shoot and kill people at weddings even when they are innocent. It's not going to solve the problem. We are putting more problems on top of each other. So in some instances, we will use negotiation. We don't necessarily have to call it amnesty. The biggest insecurity in Nigeria today, quote me, the biggest bandits, terrorists in Nigeria are those people in government. They are the ones promoting the insecurity you are seeing in Nigeria. It's the army generals who are making billions from insecurity. They will never allow it to happen. Anytime insecurity becomes business, it can never end except to remove the personnel involved in insecurity. That is why amnesty is an option. But Nigeria, that defeated the ragtag army in Liberia and Sierra Leone and restored peace to a lot of African countries that went to war, should also be able to defeat all these ragtag terrorists, kidnappers, bandits. But ultimately, we must defeat the terrorists in government. You can't escape that. And I think the last question is funding of the private sector. I wanted to say, and I'll say it again, you must determine whether what they call private sector in Nigeria is private sector. You understand? So many of these private sector buzzwords in here are names for getting contracts. They are names for taking a large portion of our commonwealth. They are not private anything. If somebody bought a power station from the government at giveaway price, and the person goes back to the government to get loans, using his government as a collateral for it, and when he cannot pay the loan back, the government takes over the loan through AMCON. It is not private sector. It is private robbery. So you must understand how private sectors work in other countries. What we say in our party is that we don't hate the private sector, but we do not like the idea of a private sector driven economy when the private sector is using the public money as a private capital. It doesn't work like that, and it should not work like that. And that's why we differ from those who talk private sector as if it's one magic bullet that can solve all our problems. We have seen what private sector has done to this country, and we know that it has not worked for a majority of our people. On that note, guys, thank you so much once again for the opportunity to interact with you. And I see you 2023. When else I come to your conference, I will be the President of the Republic of Nigeria.
Round of applause, please, for him. Thank you very much.